Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about how to clear out denominators. Yesterday we talked about how to clear out decimals. So what do you multiply by? How do you deal with that? Today we're going to focus on if you see fractions and you don't feel like dealing with them, how do you go ahead and take care of that? So for one, when you can actually solve all these problems without clearing out fractions. You can use fraction math, you can find common denominators, you can just add, subtract fractions, all that sort of stuff. But I know that as 8th graders, we really don't like fractions. We're like, hey, Mr. Guy, we hate them. Can we not deal with them? I'd rather not see fractions. Please don't let me have to deal with fractions. So I'm going to show you a way to make all your fractions disappear before you go and you do any work at all, okay? It's called clearing out your fractions. So when we talked about clearing out decimals, you would multiply by a number to make all your decimals disappear. We're going to multiply by a number, every single thing by a number, to get all our fractions to disappear. Well, what number do we need to multiply by? The number you're going to multiply by would be the least common multiple or the common denominator of the fractions that you have. So for example, let's look at number 1 here. We have 2x over 3 plus x over 2 equals 7. The fractions that I see here are 3 and 2. Those are my denominators. The common denominator for those, or the least common multiple, would be 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply every term of my equation by 6. What's that going to do? Well, I go and I multiply just the numerators by that number. Remember, this is like 6 over 1. To multiply fractions, multiply across. So basically, it's like I'm multiplying the numerators. So I'm going to get 12x over 3. I'm going to get 6x over 2. And then 6 times 7 is 42. Mr. Guy, I thought this was going to get rid of our fractions, but I still see fractions here. Here's the magic. When you multiply by that least common denominator, all of these division problems you're going to create are going to give you answers that are either whole numbers or integers. They're going to give you integer answers, okay? So for example, 12 divided by 3, well, isn't that 4? So it's going to be 4x. 6 divided by 2, why, that's 3x. And then I have that it equals 42. Notice how, because I multiply by the number, all my fractions are now gone, and now I can kind of go through and solve my equations like normal. Okay, look for distributive property, combine like terms, all that sort of stuff. In this case, we're going to have to combine like terms. We'll get 7x equals 42. And then we'll go ahead and we'll divide by 7 to get our answer. We're going to get that x equals 6. Once again, please make sure in every single equation that you solve, you should be doing a check step. Go ahead and put that check step in there. So in this case, we'll plug it back in the original. So, hey, 2 times 6 divided by 3 plus 6 divided by 2. That needs to equal 7. Everything about it, this is going to be 12 divided by 3, so that's 4. This is 6 divided by 2, that's 3. And we know that, in fact, that is going to equal 7. And so we did it correctly. Hooray for us. So, clearing out the denominators, multiply the common denominator, everything's going to disappear. Let's look at another one. Now, number 3, or we'll come back to number 3 in a second. Let's kind of jump down here to number 5 here, all right? So we have x plus 3 over 6 plus 1 over 8 equals 2/3. Excuse me. So, we're going to find a common denominator between all these. So, what number does 6, 8, and 3 all go into? In this case, that number would be 24. So, I'm going to go ahead and multiply all my numerators by 24. If your numerator has more than one thing going on, so see how this is x plus 3 here, we're going to treat it almost like distributive property. 24 parentheses x plus 3. Keep it on the outside. And yes, you should write a step that looks like this. Don't try to skip over this, okay? By this one, we're going to get 24 over 8. And then the final one, we're going to get 48 over 3. Again, all of these division problems are going to be ones that give me an integer answer. In this case over here, I'm just going to do 24 divided by 6. These are two things being multiplied, so I can divide these two. So 24 divided by 6 is going to be 4. So it'll be 4 parentheses x plus 3. 24 divided by 8, that's going to be 3. And then 48 divided by 3 is going to be 16. We are now at a point where we can go ahead and solve this just like normal. All our fractions are gone. We multiplied by the 24, made them all disappear. Now I can go ahead and solve like normal. I'll distribute. I'm going to get 4x plus 12 plus 3 equals 16. Combining like terms, I get 4x plus 15 equals 16. Subtract 15, subtract 15. You get that 4x equals 1. Divide by 4, divide by 4, x equals a quarter. Remember, with all our answers, we should go back and check it, plug it back in the original equation, make sure that it works out correctly. So if we go ahead back to the original equation, we are going to have 1/4 plus 3 over 6. I'm going to put this in parentheses. I'm going to put it in my calculator to make sure I do that. We're going to have plus 1/8 has to equal 2/3. Yep. So I'm going to take out my calculator. Go ahead and do my check step. I'm going to plug this in. Make sure I actually get 2/3 on that side. So 1/4 plus 3 over 6 plus 1/8. Okay, and you can see, put it in my calculator. Let me hold this up. Put it in my calculator, and I got 2/3. That means we are good to go. Really, most of this problem is stuff that we've done before. The only new step, the only new thing is, hey, if I have fractions and I don't feel like dealing with them, I can multiply by that number, and boom, everything will go away, and I won't have to deal with fractions anymore. Go ahead and try number 6 on your own. Go ahead and solve this one. Multiply by that common denominator, cancel some stuff out, and meet back with me, and we'll see how we did. All right, so here's my work. The common denominator I found was 12. I multiplied each term by 12, and this is what I ended up with. Again, you can notice I left the 12 out here like I'm going to distribute it, but before I distribute, I'm going to cancel here, okay? So 48 divided by 3 is 16. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. I then distributed, combined like terms, all just the normal solving equation stuff we already know how to do, and I got y equals a half. Checked it, plugged it back in, and I got 2/3 equals 2/3. So my check step, it worked out, okay? Now, one other problem I want to show you guys that can happen that kind of looks like it's kind of clearing out denominators, but there's a couple different ways we can approach it, is what I like to call the fraction equals fraction problems, okay? So one thing you can do is you can multiply by the common denominator, in this case 24, and get that stuff to cancel out. But there is a trick way that you can do to solve it that's actually going to help you a lot with some of the things we do in the future when we start talking about proportions and rates, okay? One of the things that we can do is do what's called the cross multiplication. Mr. Guy, what's cross multiplication? Basically, you draw a little x in the middle of your problem, and you multiply across the lines. So 4 times -5, that gives me -20. And then on the other side, I'm going to have 6 times -3w minus 7. And the cross multiplication will automatically get you to a point where you don't have fractions anymore, and you can go ahead and solve it like normal. So in this case, I would distribute. I'm going to get -18w minus 42. Go ahead and add 42 to both sides. I'll get 22 equals -18w. Then we'll divide by -18. Okay, and again, we want to make sure we simplify this fraction, so this one's actually going to be -11/9 is my answer. Okay, and again, I want to check it. I'll plug it back in, make sure it worked. So let's see, we're going to do -3 times -11/9 minus 7 divided by 4, and that needs to equal -5/6. So again, I have this trusty thing right here. This is going to help me out. So I'm going to say, all right, -3 parentheses -11/9 minus 7, and that whole thing I need to put in parentheses so I can put it over 4. Okay, and I got -5/6. Okay, that means we're good to go. Our check step worked out. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a nice day, and thanks for watching.